Ready for way less of Marcia, please. Maybe we'll see more of Dearden soon. He seems like a happy guy.
You've gotten autographs from other so-called celebrities, is that correct?
Yes.
You mentioned that Mr. Simpson's hands appeared large to you.
Yes, he did.
And when did you notice that his hands appeared large to you?
Well, when he was holding this thing, I was like, just like devoured it.
What devoured it? His hands?
His hand, yeah. It's just.
And at that point, you were standing right next to him?
Yes.
The time that you were with Mr. Simpson, did his demeanor or the way he acted ever change at all?
No.
Did he seem to be rushed to you at all?
No.
Seem to be relaxed to you?
Pretty much so.
What time was it when you got the autograph and you then walked back and got into your vehicle, your van that night? What time was it then, if you know? Your best estimate.
I really didn't. I don't know.
All right. Was that your last job for the night?
Yes.
Have a second here. One question, I might save some time. You didn't see Mr. Simpson at 11 o'clock, did you, that night?
No, I didn't.
You didn't see him at 10:45?
No.
You see him at 10:30?
No.
But you did see him at 11:20, 11:25, right?
Yes.
And what you told us about is how he was acting and appeared at that time. Is that right?
Yes.
I think I have nothing further at this point, Your Honor. Nothing further at this point. I reserve.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have to take our recess at this time for the day. Mr. Gladden, we still need to ask you some more questions. I'm going to direct my clerk, Mrs. Robertson, to hold on to your book until tomorrow morning. All right, you're ordered to come back tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. All right? All right, ladies and gentlemen, you may step down, Mr. Gladden. Go ahead and step down. All right, ladies and gentlemen, please remember all my admonitions to you. Do not discuss the case amongst yourselves. Don't form any opinions. Do not allow anybody to communicate with you with regard to the case. Don't conduct any deliberations until the matter has been submitted to you. Have a pleasant evening. See you tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock. All right.
Sir, this is not our agreement. This is not how we work here, sir. What in the world is going on? You are a playlist. You only have to play the list. That's your whole function.
On the record, in the Simpson matter, Mr. Simpson is again present with counsel, Mr. Shapiro, Mr. Cochran, Mr. Douglas, Mr. Bailey, people represented by Ms. Clark, Mr. Darden, Mr. Hodgman. Jury is not present. Counsel, I'm sorry, Ms. Lewis, I'm sorry, I didn't see you there. A few matters to take up before we resume with Mr. Gladden. We have two motions on this morning and a discovery matter. Mr. Douglas.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning.
Good morning, counsel.
Your Honor, I'm aware that there has been a dispute or a question concerning the discoverability of an alleged sketch that was prepared by a witness whose name is Tom Lang. I'm also aware now, after having spoken with Mr. Hodgman's office last night, that his office was in fact in receipt in January of this year of that sketch, and for reasons that I'm not quite clear on, chose not to turn it over to the prosecution. I'm also aware that that sketch was the subject of the 1054.7 hearing in chambers with the court last evening. I endeavored, Your Honor, to review the witness list that the prosecutors submitted on January the 5th of 1995. That was an updated list from the one that had been prepared in September of last year. And Tom Lang was on that list as a prosecution witness. As such, Your Honor, I do not feel that there is a legal basis under 1054 of the Penal Code for there to be any argument that that sketch, having been received from a witness, was not immediately discoverable to the defense. And I believe that there has been a violation of the discovery rules and that that document should have been turned over in January when it was first received. That's the first issue. The second issue concerns a witness, Steve Valerie, who we expect to call today on the witness stand. Mr. Valerie was a witness who was mentioned in the opening statement as being one of the passengers who sat directly across from Mr. Simpson in first class on the Chicago-bound airplane, who had the entire flight to observe Mr. Simpson's demeanor, and who will testify that not only was he in a relaxed, calm mood, but on various occasions during the flight, he had occasion to look over at his hands and saw no injuries or other marks or bandages on his hands. Mr. Valerie told me when Mr. Cochran and I spoke with him last night that he spoke to law enforcement officers on or about September 15th of 1994 when he was in London, and there was a conversation with a particular officer because they had contacted Mr. Valerie through Mr. Valerie's family who lived in Irvine. Shortly after the murders, Your Honor, Mr. Valerie was seen on television on one of the network programs talking about his observations of Mr. Simpson that evening. And he believes it was through those conversations that the district attorney's office learned of his identity and then sought to talk with him. When he talked from London, he's a business school student at UCLA at the time, and he was working in London for an American corporation. They spoke some about his observations on that day, and he recalled specifically that there was an officer who spoke with him because his family lived in Irvine and the officer was from Irvine, and there was some discussion about the both of them sharing the common home of Irvine, California. Since he was in London at that time, there was an agreement that he would speak again with the officer upon his return to the States. And Mr. Valerie returned on September the 30th, and there was immediately at that time a message from the officer, and he recalls specifically calling the police department on either October the 1st, the next day, or on October the 3rd, that following Monday, and spoke with the officers for perhaps 20 to 30 minutes over the telephone as well. Both occasions, he gave statements consistent with his initial observations that there were no cuts or bruises on Mr. Simpson's hands and that he was at all time relaxed. I looked on my list again this morning, the January 5th list of the prosecution, and Steve Valerie was a witness in January on the prosecution's list. He was also a witness on the defense list, as was Mr. Lang. Because he was a prosecution witness, Your Honor, I am of the opinion that there was similarly an obligation to turn over reports of any such conversations that occurred on September the 15th by telephone when he was in London, and on either October the 1st or the 3rd, where there was a much more lengthy and extensive conversation reaffirming the earlier observations that he had made on June the 13th.
People? Certainly. I'm sorry, Mr. Douglas, did Mr. Valerie indicate to you the name of the police officer to whom he spoke?
The only recollection he could have as to the first conversation was that the officer lived in Irvine, because they shared the Irvine thing. There was an earlier conversation with Detective Kilcoyne, and he was not sure that it was the same detective on the other two occasions, Your Honor. Right. We do have Kilcoyne's report from June.
Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning.
Your Honor, as the court is aware, I appeared before the court yesterday, and I will incorporate my previous remarks with regard to the information regarding Mr. Lang. I would submit that Mr. Lang was on the defense witness list from an early point in time preceding January of '95. We did not intend to call Mr. Lang as a witness for reasons personal to ourselves, and as evidenced by our case in chief, he was not presented. So I would submit that Mr. Douglas's point is a difference without a distinction, and I will simply incorporate my previous remarks with regard to whatever ruling the court might make in that regard.
You concede at this point, however, that Mr. Lang was on the prosecution's witness list as of January 5.
He was. With regard to the second point, Your Honor, we are not in possession of any September statement or notes from Mr. Valerie. I will look into the matter, but I would submit that the same rationale applies, that this is a difference without a distinction in the sense that, while Valerie, I would have to check whether Valerie was on our January witness list, but he was certainly on the defense witness list. I know that for a fact. So for the moment, I will have to look into that for the court before I can, if asserting 1054.7 possibly, or before I can better educate the court as to what that issue is. But we do not have a statement from September of last year.
All right, do you have a statement from October of last year?
We have something from October of last year. Yeah, it appears to be some notes.
All right. Anything else?
Briefly, Your Honor, the test is not whether in actuality they are going to call him, which triggers their discovery obligations from October, Your Honor. Certainly from October, they did not know that they were not going to call Mr. Valerie. Certainly in January, Your Honor, January 25th or 26th, I believe, Tom Lang was still on the prosecutor's list. We've been given thousands of pages of documents, of interviews from witnesses who they haven't called. So that's not the test, Your Honor. That's all I want to say. Sorry.
Your Honor, the only additional point I wish to make is simply to remind the court of what it is already well aware, and that is the language of the statute. Witnesses that the people or a party intends to call.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, court finds that both of these individuals, Valerie and Lang, were on the prosecution's witness list as of January 5, 1995. As such, any statements that were in possession of the prosecution at that time should have been turned over. The court will direct that the notes from October 94 of Mr. Valerie be disclosed to the defense forthwith, and also this sketch from January of 1995 from Mr. Lang be disclosed forthwith. Certainly. All right, next issue.
Since we are the proponent of the testimony of Lori Menzione, I suggest that we would have the burden of justifying her admission.
I agree.
Your Honor, Lori Menzione, on June the 12th, 1994, was an employee of Thomas Cook Travel Agency, which is now American Express Travel Agency. Sometime that morning, she received a call from a Hertz representative whom she knows from having had prior dealings, and was informed that there is a Mr. Simpson on the line that has a death request and needs to make an emergency change in his reservations. Subsequently, there was another party put on the phone, and then Mr. Simpson. We believe that was through a conference call that Mr. Simpson had made with either Kathy Randa or Skip Taft, who had called Hertz to set up this conversation. And during the course of the subsequent conversation with Ms. Menzione, Mr. Simpson was attempting, the name was Orenthal Simpson, he was attempting to make new arrangements for the return flight to Los Angeles, having just been informed of the deaths of his former wife and another person. Ms. Menzione, I can tell you as an officer of the court, would testify that during the course of her conversation with Mr. Simpson, she heard a crash-like sound in the background. And Mr. Simpson said, "Hold on, hold on, hold on." She then heard a sound that she distinctly thought was the sound of water running. She will testify, Your Honor, that the crash-like sound that she heard was similar to a sound of someone wiping clean a table or something nearby, and then things scattering. And that's the motion that she was using when she was trying to describe the nature of the sound that she heard. I spoke with her about it yesterday. She will say that after hearing the hold on, she then heard water running. And Mr. Simpson then returned to the phone and said, "I cut myself and I'm bleeding." And then there were further conversations that were made about trying to make arrangements about the death of his wife. There were conversations about his having 2 kids. One was 9, one was almost 6. There were all conversations concerning Mr. Simpson's efforts to make arrangements for his return flight to Los Angeles. There's one argument that the people have suggested that there's no verification or ability to corroborate the fact that the Orenthal Simpson, who Ms. Menzione was speaking with, was in fact Mr. O.J. Simpson. I don't think that there's a great deal of stock in that particular argument, so I'd like to focus my comments on the admissibility of that statement and why I feel that it is admissible. Certainly, Your Honor, the conversation and the testimony about what she heard on the phone, that she heard a crash-like sound over the phone, that she heard running of water, that Mr. Simpson said, "Hold on, hold on." Certainly that the crash-like sound and the water running were percipient sounds that are admissible, irrespective of whatever words or conversations she may have had with the accused. So there is a threshold relevance, clearly. There's a threshold basis to offer the admissibility of her testimony. And it even becomes more relevant, Your Honor, when the court appreciates the context of her testimony with other facts that have already been before the jury and other facts still to come. As an officer of the court, Your Honor, certainly the court is aware that Cato Kalin, Alan Park, Wayne Stanfield, Mike Norris, Mike Gladden have all testified that they saw Mr. Simpson before before and during the course of his Chicago flight, and they noticed no cuts, no bruises, no bandages, no evidence of blood on his hands. I'm sure there'll be the argument, well, they didn't look, but that goes to the weight rather than to the admissibility of the testimony. As an officer of the court, I will tell you that there will be other witnesses who will testify today. Howard Bingham, who was also on the flight and had a conversation with Mr. Simpson right next to his seat. Steve Valerie, who was seated in first class across the aisle from Mr. Simpson and had occasion to observe him throughout the entire flight. And James Merrow, who was the Hertz employee who picked up Mr. Simpson at the gate, who traveled with him to the baggage claim area, who will testify that he sat with him in the baggage claim area for 15 or 20 minutes, waiting for the bags to come, watching a relaxed but tired O.J. Simpson greet other fans and bystanders, give autographs, shake hands, and then driving Mr. Simpson from the airport to his hotel, helping him with his baggage, and that there was no cuts, no bruises, no bleeding on his hands as of that point. And now we have Mr. Simpson walking into the hotel, and there has not been one witness who has perceived him that evening who noticed any cuts or bruises on his hands.
All right,
We then have the testimony.
Counsel, I appreciate the relevance. I don't think you need to tell me more about that.
I'm trying to corroborate, Your Honor, why this evidence has indications of trustworthiness separate from the words that were spoken, which is part of my obligation under Evidence Code Section 1252. Then we have, Your Honor, he goes inside his hotel, and Dave Kilduff, who is a vice president and regional manager at Hertz, sees Mr. Simpson outside the hotel. He is distressed. Mr. Kilduff is dropping off Hertz employees, and basically Mr. Simpson takes his car, and Kilduff then drives Mr. Simpson to the airport. Kilduff will testify that as he was pulling up, Mr. Simpson was distressed, he was crying, he had his hands up to his face, and there was a bandage, there was bleeding, and it was profuse. We then will have testimony of Mark Partridge, who will confirm that there was a bandage on his middle finger of his left hand. Your Honor, I suggest to you there is independent corroboration that the statements that Mr. Simpson made, I'm bleeding and I cut myself, are independently trustworthy. And, Your Honor, under Evidence Code Section 1250, these statements go to the physical sensation of the declarant, and there is a specific clause that says physical sensation includes the bodily health. The people have conceded that if Mr. Simpson were to have said, I'm hurt and I cut myself, that would have been admissible. I argue the statement, I'm bleeding and I cut myself, is also admissible, and it is a distinction without a difference. A statement of his physical bodily health is that I'm bleeding and I cut myself. A statement of physical sensation is that I'm hurt and I cut myself. For all reasons of fairness and probative value, and with the other corroboration that will be present, I suggest to the court that those statements are an admissible exception to the hearsay rule and should be admitted.
Ms. Lewis.
Good morning, Your Honor. Your Honor, I spoke with Ms. Menzioni as well on Monday morning when she was, I believe, still in Chicago. The conversation that she had, she made a typed notes with regard to, and those are appended to my brief, and it shows the conversation in some detail as she recalled it within a few days after the conversation itself. So that's certainly the most trustworthy representation of what the conversation was. At any event, she was transferred a call where some caller, some person, presumably from Hertz, I believe, said that they had a Mr. Simpson on the line who needed help because of a death notification, needed help with reservations. That by itself, of course, is irrelevant hearsay. She proceeded to talk to Mr. Simpson and had trouble finding his reservation within the computer system that she was using. So they had rather a lengthy time on the phone. During that time, he sounded like he was moving around the room. At one point, he said, hold on, put the phone down. And she heard what sounded to her like a phone falling, a crashing noise. At any rate, he did, after a pause, come back on the phone, and she said, are you all right? And he said, in what she described back then in a somber tone of voice, yes, I've cut myself and I'm bleeding. I was just something about, I was just notified that my wife was killed, and she said, I'm sorry, was she ill? And he said, no, she was killed, something like that. Now, the problem with this is a very elementary one to begin with, and that is that there is no foundation that that was Mr. Simpson who made the call. We can talk about what's reported in the press, and we can try this case based on what people seem to know based on various press reports, or we can resume our trial of this case, as we are doing in a court of law, and go by the rules of evidence. The rules of evidence require the quite elementary foundation that there be authentication of the declarant, of the person making the statement, who in this case is a caller over the telephone. Ms. Menzioni told me on Monday that she had never spoken to O.J. Simpson before that occasion. She didn't even realize until the middle of the call that she had, presumably, Mr. Simpson on the line when she finally put together the Orenthal with the O.J. It wasn't until halfway through the call that she even thought that's who it might be. We have him saying that's who he was, but she has never spoken to him before then. She has never spoken to him since then. And as she told me Monday, she did not recognize his voice during that conversation. still does not recognize it, and still could not swear from personal knowledge that that was his voice on the phone. So while Mr. Douglas breezes over this problem, I believe he does so because there is no answer from the defense to this problem that they have presented. This is a basic and elementary foundational problem when you have a hearsay declaration made over the telephone. I'll address only briefly the excited utterance exception since Mr. Douglas has chosen not to rely on it. I did include it in my brief. It's clearly not an excited utterance because as the court ruled earlier with regard to Denise Brown's statement when she learned of Nicole's death that, oh my God, he did it, or something like that. Because she did not witness the murders themselves, there was no traumatic event to which she was a recipient witness, and that's where the spontaneous utterance exception applies. And cutting oneself is certainly under the case law not a traumatic event that's going to cause someone to be extremely upset and agitated so that they say something spontaneously that has trustworthiness. So it fails to qualify under the hearsay exception for a spontaneous statement. And the only other one I was looking to see, well, what could it possibly be an expression of assuming they could cross that first foundational hurdle, which they can, could it possibly be an indication of physical suffering of some kind? And it's not. He states that he cut himself. He doesn't even say that it hurt. And I'm not conceding at all that it would come in necessarily if he had said it hurt him. But the point of that exception is to allow in civil actions testimony as to pain and suffering, because that's always going to be a hearsay type of declaration that comes out to prove what somebody's feeling, since you can't otherwise prove what they're feeling. So it's a sensation and not the visible result that gets testified to, because there's no other way that can come in under the law without making an exception for it. And the final thing I want to point out, Mr. Douglas stands up here and says, as an officer of the court, he can represent that all of these witnesses saw no cut on Mr. Simpson's hand repeatedly throughout the time that he was on the flight and so forth. I don't see how he can look you in the face, Your Honor, and say that those are trustworthy when he knows that his client's own taped statement that Mr. Simpson made after returning from Chicago, he acknowledges that he cut himself in Los Angeles. He didn't remember how, but he remembered cutting himself, that he had cut himself, that he was bleeding. He said he was running around, didn't know how he did it. He had no explanation for how he cut himself, but he did acknowledge that he cut himself. And in fact, when he was asked about Chicago, he said, I think that was a cut that I reopened, the cut that I made in Los Angeles that I reopened. So how Mr. Douglas can get up here and say, with all ethical presumption, as an officer of the court, that he believes that statement is trustworthy when he knows that his own client told the police that he had cut himself in Los Angeles is galling. It's absolutely galling. So for that reason, because of words out of the defendant's own mouth, under a calm, voluntary Mirandized situation, which is tape recorded, because he acknowledges having cut himself in Los Angeles, all of these other supposed indicia where someone is supposed to notice whether someone has a cut on their hand, and because they don't, that seems to prove that they don't have a cut. All of those indicia are rendered absolutely untrustworthy because the court has the defendant's statement out of its own, his admission out of his own mouth. So the first and foremost and the easiest basis upon which the court can rule is the one, frankly, that I feel the court is duty-bound to rule, and that is that there is no foundation that this caller was indeed Mr. Simpson, as we know the law requires.
Mr. Douglas? I'm concerned about two things. One, the inability to identify the person to whom she was speaking, and I'm concerned about the offer of proof regarding the indicia of reliability point raised by Ms. Lewis concerning statements that your client made.
First of all, Your Honor, the witnesses will say that Mr. Simpson was not bleeding until after walking out of the hotel, and then he was bleeding. And that is the major cut that is on the top of Mr. Simpson's finger that witnesses will say they didn't see. Now, there were other cuts on other portions of his hand, but the major cut on the top of the middle finger of the left hand, witnesses will say was not bleeding and was not seen until Mr. Kilduff and Mr. Partridge were the first witnesses that would see and would testify about that cut and about the cut bleeding. In terms of the indication of who the person was on the phone, Your Honor, certainly if the court considers the totality of all of the other information in the case, as the court must, there are sufficient indication of trustworthiness. One, we know it was a Hertz event. The witness will testify that she got a call from a woman she has dealt with in the past who was a Hertz employee.
Is there any record of this three-way phone conference or any phone record contemporaneous with your client's hotel room?
There are records, Your Honor, of Mr. Simpson having called Mr. Taft. There are records of several calls that Mr. Simpson made to Kathy Randa. There are records of calls that were made to Mr. Merrow, who was the person that had taken him to the airport, and there were arrangements that were made. And there were other calls that were made, Your Honor.
No, Mr. Douglas, what I'm interested in, do you have phone records that show this call to Thomas Cook, now American Express?
It wasn't a direct call from Mr. Simpson, Your Honor. It was a call that was received from Hertz.
I understand that.
And it was a recall, Your Honor. Ms. Menzioni will say that when the Hertz person first came onto the phone, and talked about there being this Mr. Simpson and an emergency and a need for a change, there was then another person on the phone
No, I'm
first.
asking, all right, do you have, I mean, virtually every hotel charges for phone calls these days.
I have
You have a record showing a phone call from your client's room to the Hertz person.
Your Honor, that's not how it went. That's why I'm telling the court. And if your court will indulge me. There were calls that Mr. Simpson made to Kathy Randa. There's been testimony from Ms. Simpson, Arnell Simpson, that Ms. Randa and Mr. Simpson had a practice of making three-way calls. When the Hertz call came through, there was first another person on the phone, and then Mr. Simpson came on the phone. Ms. Menzione will also say that at the conclusion of the call, Mr. Simpson said, "Thank you, Kathy," to Ms. Menzione, which suggests to me that certainly this was one indication or one occasion when there was a three-way call with Mr. Simpson having called Kathy Randa, she putting Simpson in touch with Hertz, Hertz then calling to Menzione, and arrangements were made for travel. Clearly, Your Honor, the arrangement for the reservation that was made was for the O.J. Simpson, who then had a ticket, who then boarded that flight, and who then sat in those seats. When they were asking about the nature of the emergency, there was discussion about my wife had just been killed. They had asked, was it an accident? No, she had been killed. There was a discussion about his children. There's one 9 and there's one almost 6. These aspects of the conversation were reflected in the notes that Ms. Menzione prepared that were attached with the motion. Who would have known, Your Honor, other than O.J. Simpson, early on the morning of June the 13th, that there had been a death of an O.J. Simpson? That wasn't news in Chicago at that point, Your Honor. That the caller had a child that was 9 and almost 6, that the caller wanted to make a particular flight from American Airlines. They tried to go to different airports, different airlines, but there was none that would get him into Los Angeles as quickly as the flight that was booked. I think, Your Honor, there is sufficient indication that the caller was O.J. Simpson. The name was Orento. The reservation was Orento. He was asked to spell the name Orento, and during the course of the conversation, she said, "Oh, you mean you're the movie guy?" "Yes." And there was some reflection during the course of the conversation that she was speaking with the O.J. Simpson.
So getting back to my question now, do you have a call from Kathy Randa to this Hertz person?
Your Honor, I do not at present have records from Kathy Randa to Hertz. I have records.
Mr. Douglas, Mr. Orenthal is clearly a unique and distinctive name. The facts and circumstances indicate probably so. Do you have something independent of this conversation that can establish to me that the likelihood is this is the person?
Your Honor, I do not have before me today Kathy Randa's phone records from June of '94. I do have Mr. Simpson's telephone records from his hotel, and I do have 2 calls that were made to Ms. Randa's home before the first call that was made to Jim Merrill's cellular phone, and he called Jim Merrill to pick him up to take him to the airport. I have 3 calls to Jim Merrill, but preceding those 3 calls were 2 calls to Kathy Randa, and that's all that I have at this time, Your Honor.
Do we have one of those computer travel agency printouts that gives us the time of the call and what arrangements were made?
Ms. Menzione does not have that, no, Your Honor. But, Your Honor, before the call was made to the driver to come pick me up and take me back to the airport, there were 2 calls made to Kathy Randa. Certainly, Your Honor, that supplies the indication. At the end of the call, he says, "Thank you, Kathy," to Ms. Menzione. She'll testify to that. Certainly, Your Honor.
Is Ms. Randa available?
As a witness in the case?
Yes.
She is. Ms. Menzione flew out here from Chicago. She's going back today, and I'd like to get her testimony on today. She leaves at 2:45 today.
Well, she knows how to change reservations.
Probably so.
Counsel, I think Ms. Lewis's point is well taken at this point regarding foundation, but there's not much more that needs to be done. But I'm indicating to you I need something a little more than what's there. Because relating a conversation with somebody that you've never talked to before, I think you need something more than what you got here.
Even though there are independent confirming events during the course of the conversation that suggest only one
It's
person.
the foundation for the conversation itself.
Your Honor, I wanted just the court to be aware of an additional
No, counsel,
circumstance.
no. I've ruled, I've found an inadequate foundation at this point.
All right, Your Honor, since the, if the court is moving on,
Yes.
since the people did file the 402 motion to bring this to the court's attention, may the people have the first argument with regard to Christian Reichardt. Your Honor, it appears from all I can tell that the defense is attempting to introduce evidence regarding Faye Resnick's past drug usage and her intervention and alleged past problems with drugs through her ex-boyfriend, Christian Reichardt. There is almost no testimony that Mr. Reichardt has to offer that I believe is admissible under the law. Under Hall and the progeny that has come since then, all of the California Supreme Court cases during the 1990s which follow Hall, all require that mere evidence of motive, even if there is also opportunity. Those things are not alone sufficient to introduce evidence that some third party actually committed the crimes. This case law is well established. In the Pride case, the trial court kept out evidence that the husband of one of the murder victim had received $40,000 in life insurance money and remarried a year later, because the California Supreme Court said in that case where the defendant is sitting on death row that that was insufficient evidence to raise a reasonable doubt that the defendant committed the murders as a matter of law. In the Alcala case, a paroled murderer, a known murderer who was on parole, was acting suspiciously in the area of the murders 2 days after the victim disappeared. The trial court kept that out. The California Supreme Court said insufficient evidence to raise a reasonable doubt. There was nothing linking him to the actual perpetration of the crime. In People v. Clark, there was a third party connected with the case who had committed a murder by decapitation. And in this case, the murder was by decapitation. The Supreme Court said in a case, all of these cases, the defendants are now sitting on death row. The California Supreme Court said in that case, that's insufficient evidence to raise a reasonable doubt as to the defendant's guilt. Now, in those...
Isn't decapitation as a manner of killing semi-distinctive?
The California Supreme Court said that's insufficient. You would think so. I mean, that's similar MO, but that's not enough. There has to be somebody actually...
As I recollect, that was multiple
decapitations, I believe so. So there has to be evidence, there has to be a lot more evidence than the defense could ever hope for here. Number one, there has to be an identified third party. They can't just say some drug seller somewhere in the universe. There has to be some identified suspect as a third party. They don't have that. There has to be, to start with, there has to be motive. And they don't have that. They have a tortured argument that somehow, because Faye Resnick may have had a minor drug habit, that would cause and warrant some Colombian drug lord to come murder her friend and someone who was coming by her house at the time. That stretches credulity.
Well, let's assume that it was a more than significant than minor drug problem. Let's assume that when friends who care for somebody take that person and put them into a drug program, I mean, that's more than minor.
Suppose the person is an addicted person that they're about to fall down dead. There's no... That's... Ms. Clark feels strong about this issue, as we all do, because the case law is clear in this area. I mean, there's no evidence here of anything other than this woman may have had a drug problem. There is no evidence that she owed money because of that problem. There's no evidence that she was involved in selling drugs. People, from what the defense is speculating, is absurd. It's absolutely absurd that somebody would go try...
How was Ms. Resnick employed at the time?
How was she employed at the time?
What was her source of income?
Your Honor, I don't think that's... I'm told that it was Mr. Reichardt, her ex-boyfriend, who was supporting her at the time. They're on their own savings, their own money. But at any rate, Your Honor, we're talking about, forgive the colloquial expression, but a nickel and dime habit of someone. And on the other hand, we're talking about murder. And these things don't even logically necessarily link one to the other. And I've cited a case in my brief that talks about you don't draw speculative inferences from speculative inferences. I mean, those of us who like to get into detail can kind of get into detail and get into this stuff way off on the limb of a tree, when the trunk of the tree is still sitting there, you know, looking at us, wondering what the heck we're doing standing out over there on the limb. And that's what the defense is attempting to do with this supposed evidence of any drug dealing such that would cause somebody to murder Faye Resnick's friend, or even Faye Resnick. There's just simply, there's insufficient evidence. The third obvious thing, I shouldn't say obvious, but the third thing that the California Supreme Court consistently requires before saying that there's any possibility that it might raise a reasonable doubt is an actual link to the murders of this named third party, evidence actually connecting. And that's where the defense would try to get into speculation and based upon speculation by trying to argue that there's more than one murderer, and therefore if there's more than one murderer, maybe that was the drug seller, and even though we don't have a name of a person because Faye Resnick may have had a drug habit, it's likely to believe it was the drug seller. It's really ridiculous, Your Honor. There's just too many inferences and too much speculation. It doesn't, none of this evidence in this entire trial warrants finding that there's evidence actually linking anybody other than the defendant, Orenthal James Simpson, to these murders. It is just not there. No matter how much Mr. Cochran and the other defense team members would try and weave that spin in front of the jury, it just does not survive. There's just not evidence there. And the case law is clear. Our California Supreme Court has spoken on this topic repeatedly over the 1990s, current law, that is insufficient. Now, in addition, Your Honor, there is, in addition to that line of authority and that basic problem with the defense attempt, there is, of course, the always present whenever you have such inflammatory evidence or inflammatory spin on evidence, Evidence Code Section 352. And here, according to our transcript of our interview with Mr. Reichardt, there is hardly a thing in there that isn't objectionable based on 352 grounds and relevancy. There is some discussion in there of a sexual encounter between Faye Resnick and Nicole. I don't know if the defense is trying to elicit that or not. There's simply no relevance to that. It's unduly inflammatory. Even when we come back to the basic issue and the main issue of her drug use, that's inflammatory and irrelevant. It's likely to mislead and confuse this jury. It's there for no good reason than to try and sully the victims, make them look bad, make Nicole look bad because she had a friend who may have had a drug problem, and cast aspersions on the victims, all as a means to deflect attention away from the evidence showing Mr. Simpson is himself guilty and was the murderers.
Doesn't it show that Nicole Brown Simpson cared for her friend enough to get her into a drug program?
And what is the relevance of that, Your Honor?
You say it's to sully the reputation of the victims. That didn't strike me that way. That's the point
Well,
I'm making.
their motives aside, it's what ends up coming out and what the evidence says that matters. That's right, Your Honor. We don't want to have a mini trial on Faye Resnick and her potential past drug usage. I'm not sure to the extent that she's acknowledged any drug usage, so I don't want to acknowledge any on her behalf. She certainly hasn't personally told me of any. That's right. There's no evidence of that anybody had any will toward her because of that drug habit. Anybody who was likely to murder her. There's no evidence of any drug seller that had threatened her or to whom she owed money, that was in town that night, that was anywhere near the premises. There was simply nothing even to link up that motive. And even if you had that link that might link up the motive, you don't have the evidence of actual perpetration. All of that is still speculation. There's still no evidence actually linking such a hypothetical person to being the murderer and the person who killed those two innocent victims. So the defense has gone far afield in trying to backdoor in, I guess, Ms. Resnick's use of drugs through her ex-boyfriend. I see the court has acquired a textbook. I'll pause.
Oh, I just had a point of curiosity here.
You know, on the other hand, there are a few things which we don't find objectionable if the defense would choose to put on Mr. Reichardt for those reasons alone. And that is that shortly before the murders, the defendant told Faye Resnick, and Ms. Resnick repeated it to Christian Reichardt, that he was going to kill Nicole. And she told him that before the murders occurred. So if the defense wants to allow that hearsay where Mr. Reichardt comes in and testifies that Faye Resnick told him, the defendant said that, we'd be happy to admit that. We'd be happy to allow them to question him with regard to the lengthy conversations the defendant had over the 2 weeks preceding the murders with Faye Resnick, and when he was talking about why won't Nicole return my telephone calls, why won't she call me, where he appeared to be obsessed with her then, contrary to the image that the defense is trying to portray that he was all happy-go-lucky about them having broken up. And we also don't object to Mr. Reichardt acknowledging that Mr. Simpson gave him $5,000 for doing a 5-page, I believe, outline for some video of his. But, Your Honor, the gravamen of this motion is that the defense has failed to show any link of any third party with these murders as it's required to by our California Supreme Court and as it's required to under the law. Regardless of how they want to try this case in front of this jury, they are obliged to follow the law, and they cannot do it in this regard.
Thank you, counsel. Mr. Cochran.
Good morning, Your Honor.
Morning.
Just briefly, Your Honor, you've been very patient this morning listening to the lawyers, and so I'm not going to belabor this, but I think I should set the record straight on a couple of things. Ms. Lewis speculates far too much about what we expect to do. She didn't have the benefit of our conversation back in chambers, which you now have with counsel, with Mr. Darden and Mr. Clark there. But let me just indicate that with regard to Dr. Reichardt, Dr. Christian Reichardt, he does have very, very relevant testimony. First of all, let's talk about demeanor. Dr. Reichardt spoke with our client, Mr. O.J. Simpson, at about 9 o'clock on June 12, 1994, in a phone conversation, which he would, I believe, testify about Mr. Simpson's demeanor, that he was calm, that he was relaxed, like he always was. That at that conversation, they made a date to have dinner, along with Paula Barbieri, on the Wednesday preceding or succeeding that Sunday evening. So I guess that would be Wednesday, the 15th of June. He had a long-standing relationship with Mr. Simpson. And for counsel who come and make these speculations based upon just scintilla of knowledge is unfortunate. Because what happens, she would know this man is a chiropractic doctor, and his lawyer has assured me he would have made a lot more than $5,000 if he'd been in his office for the work that he did on a Playboy video. That was how you conduct yourself, I think, on flights and how you avoid jet lag and things like that. It was subsequently promoted. So who can quarrel upon that? Mr. Simpson didn't give him anything. He was paid for what he did at the time. So we clearly have the demeanor. In addition to that, but perhaps the prosecution doesn't know, was Dr. Reichardt spoke with Nicole Brown Simpson about 4:30 or 5 on that afternoon. He also spoke with her, as I've indicated to the court, on Friday evening. He was a friend of all the parties here involved. Now, it's interesting that Mr. Lewis would speculate out loud about some relationship. The court will recall that from the defense side, we've never said one bad thing about either of these victims, and we will not do that. All the things that have come is from their own witnesses or from Faye Resnick in her book. We've never said anything bad and do not plan and will not do that in the course of this case. But with regard to the other aspect that she talks about, so clearly there's relevance to his testimony. And it seems as though in a search for truth, it seems like there's their truth and there's the real truth. And so all we're saying is we have an absolute right to bring this man on. We'll make that judgment, of course. Now, with regard to Faye Resnick, that's what she's really worried about, Your Honor. And that's why she goes to such extent and extremes. And the court has clearly pointed out. We expect the evidence would show that Ms. Faye Resnick had a breast enlargement surgery in March of 1994. That Dr. Reichart told her at the time he was afraid for her getting back on medication, that she'd return to binging and using drugs. So I expect the evidence to show. And he knew about her. He knew this wasn't like any minor drug problem. He had been as the sober person through the Betty Ford Clinic with this lady to try to help her stay straight along with her minor child who resided with her, Your Honor. But yet, after she had this breast enlargement, sure enough, she returned to the use of drugs, just as he feared. And she was not, you ask a very appropriate question, she was not gainfully employed. She had no job. She lived with him. And he does not use drugs and would not give her any money for drugs. Absolutely, that's what I expect the testimony will be. He'll be adamant about that if he does, in fact, testify. In addition to that, over a period of time, her drug usage became so bad, Your Honor, that on the Friday, the previous Friday, I think June the 3rd, it became so bad that they separated. She moved in or went over to Nicole Brown Simpson's house as a friend. He left, went to San Diego. She called him from Ms. Brown Simpson's residence, indicating she was staying there now. And for that, he returned home on Sunday. She was still at Nicole Brown Simpson's residence. She would only come home during the day to change clothes or to get clothes, but she was residing in Nicole Brown Simpson's residence. We think this is very relevant because when I had Detective Lang on the stand, there was some question about whether she moved in with Nicole Brown Simpson. I think we can show that through Christian Reichart. Of more importance, and the fact that Nicole Brown Simpson was a very good friend of this lady and should never be maligned, they shouldn't even think about it being maligned, on Wednesday of that week, the 8th, the situation with Faye Resnick became so bad with her use of cocaine that her former husband, Paul Resnick, contacted Christian Reichart, Your Honor, and said, look, it's gotten so bad, I'm concerned for Francesca, I'm concerned for her. And they agreed, and Dr. Reichart was supposed to go to a family gathering that evening. And he didn't show up because they met at a restaurant out in Brentwood to talk about this. And present at this restaurant on June 8th was Nicole Brown Simpson, Paul Resnick, and Christian Reichart, all to discuss the drug problem, the serious drug problem of Faye Resnick. They talked about it. Faye Resnick was at a party that particular evening, the party that Dr. Reichart was to attend, but he didn't attend that party. When he returned home about 10, and at the dinner that they had, it was determined it was so serious that they would have an intervention that night. An intervention in which the family and friends would come together and say to this lady, you can't help yourself, we've got to help you get some help. And sure enough, it was agreed that later that evening, at Dr. Reichardt's house, that they would have this intervention, that Mr. Nicole Brown Simpson would come over, her former husband, Paul Resnick, would come by, and they in fact did that about 11 o'clock that evening. And as so often happens, Faye Resnick was in denial. In fact, she denied using drugs, denied having any drugs in the house, and it was Mr. Nicole Brown Simpson who went over, according to Dr. Reichart, and showed where she was hiding a stash of cocaine at that point in that house. And they recovered it. I believe the understanding was that evening it was flushed down the toilet because everybody else there apparently was anti-drug, except Faye Resnick. And it was determined at this point that she would go into Exodus the very next day, and the records will reflect that Dr. Reichart took her into Exodus the very next day, which would be on Thursday the 9th. And we know that from the records, Your Honor. She remained in there for approximately 2 weeks, and he continued. He paid for this, Your Honor. It cost him $7,000, even though at this point we're separated. He paid for this as a friend, as Mr. Nicole Brown Simpson had been a friend of this particular lady. Now, Judge, when you buy drugs, you generally have to pay for them. Now, they can talk about all the speculation they want, but that's axiomatic. And when you can talk about a nickel and dime thing, but this is far more than this. This is going on over a period of time with someone who has no gainful means of paying for these drugs. And those are absolutely the facts. And you take that, and that's why one of the reasons that and let me state it again for the record, we don't plan or want to call Sidney Simpson to the stand. All we've asked is to talk to her along with Ms. Clark in an effort to try and ascertain and do a stipulation where Sidney Simpson says that night, Mommy's best friend calls, and Mommy was crying thereafter. The court will recall that. And then further, Your Honor, the situation we have here is there is testimony from several witnesses that once these horrible crimes occurred, friends of all parties, Faye Resnick, Nicole Brown Simpson, everyone indicated and have said, and the prosecution is aware of this, if O.J. isn't guilty of this, then we're all in trouble. And there's testimony, for instance, from Dr. Reichart, that he slept with a gun for the several weeks or 10 days after this happened. There was great fright and concern at Exodus, where Faye Resnick was, when Christian Reichart went to see her at the drug treatment facility that night. They thought this was a drug-related situation and that this was a payback for not paying these drugs. And all these people felt that exact same way. They all felt that way. And we think that is relevant, and it certainly ties in. And so what I've tried now is to demonstrate to Your Honor what I expect is relevant testimony that we can demonstrate. What I said to you in chambers was, in this case, we are trying to move along at a pace where we don't forsake quality for speed, but at the same time, we're concerned about this jury. So we're making tactical decisions as we go along. We haven't made the final decision, although Dr. Reichart is on our list for today. But certainly, his testimony is relevant, certainly on the demeanor, and we think it's also relevant, Your Honor, with regard to the other things I've indicated regarding Faye Resnick and her drug uses. And it's not particularly helpful to you to talk about these other things or to be worried about what we may be doing. Further, as I said, we don't plan to go into anything that's negative. And further, any hearsay statement, we don't plan to elicit, as I mentioned to you back in chambers, any hearsay alleged statement made by Faye Resnick attributed to our client is totally double hearsay. In that same interview that Mr. Darden conducted, Dr. Reichart was never on the phone at any time and didn't hear. He just heard what Faye Resnick was saying. And he also told Mr. Darden that during this time that she was allegedly talking to Mr. Simpson, she was high on drugs at that very time. And he'd been working all day and came home and didn't want to hear this, what he considered a nonsensical conversation. So I promise not to be lengthy, but I thought I should make an effort to set the record straight. If you have any questions regarding this, I'll be more than pleased to try and answer.
Oh, thank you, counsel.
Your Honor, Mr. Cochran has just made my point perfectly. We've gotten off into an intrigue with regard to Faye Resnick, and he still has failed to satisfy the requirements of the case law. Who was her dealer? Who did she owe money to? Did she owe money to anybody? Was the person bent out of shape? Was that person somebody who the defense can identify? Was that person somebody that had an opportunity to kill her? I mean, he has still failed to go through and enumerate some evidence actually linking the perpetration of these crimes with anybody other than Mr. Simpson. And it's clear from all that he said that none of that does that. It's all speculation. All it does is confuse and mislead the jury. And by the way, he mentioned that there was so much concern about some other murder. As a matter of fact, it's my understanding that Mr. Kardashian's child was staying at Faye Resnick's house as late as February. So clearly that's just something he's shooting off at the mouth. Not occasionally, I'm told. So, but you know, all of this has become ridiculous, Your Honor. It is far out on that little twig at the very end of a limb on a tree with a big trunk. That big trunk is all the evidence against Mr. Simpson. That little leaf sitting out there in the wind, blowing in the wind, is the defense hope that they can somehow get the jury to believe that some drug seller is the one who actually committed the murders. And, Your Honor, Mr. Cochran talked at length about that, but he also spoke about conversations over the phone. By the way, the conversations that Christian Reichart had with Faye Resnick are clearly hearsay. I don't know why he thinks that would be admissible. At any rate, the conversations, excuse me, counsel.
He was just asking if you could repeat the last comment. He didn't hear that.
Oh, the conversations that were had over the phone, or the conversations that Mr. Reichart had with Faye Resnick clearly are hearsay, regardless of whether Christian Reichart heard the defendant over the phone or if he's just speaking to Faye Resnick. At any rate, Mr. Cochran was also talking about a conversation that Mr. Reichart had with the defendant, allegedly, at 9 o'clock on June 12th before the murders, and as further demeanor evidence. Well, I would submit that the likelihood of misleading or confusing the juries versus the probative value of somebody's demeanor as interpreted over a telephone weighs against that evidence coming in. Because to say how somebody sounded over the phone without an opportunity to see their demeanor is their physical body language in conjunction with that voice, disembodied voice on the telephone, is really virtually meaningless. Further, Your Honor, in that regard, the defense, I don't know I don't know if there's been discussion of this previously, but the defense is treading on dangerous ground when they talk about Mr. Simpson's demeanor. They're getting into his character for peacefulness under the assumption that a murderer, or that someone who does not commit murder, acts peacefully up until the time of the murder. I didn't phrase that very well, but...
Well, Ms. Lewis, let's not launch into that issue. The issue before the court right now is the Hall issue.
All right, and it is clear that nothing Mr. Cochran has said has identified any third party or has shown any link of evidence besides a motive of some unidentified third party. He's failed to satisfy the requirement, all of the case law that our California Supreme Court has repeatedly held with regard to defendants who are sitting on death row waiting to be executed, repeatedly held that the trial courts properly ruled to keep out that evidence because it didn't raise a reasonable doubt as to the defendant's guilt when there was insufficient evidence linking any third party. In those cases, it was a known identified third party, linking any third party to the actual murders themselves. Here, all of the evidence shows and points to Mr. Simpson as being the person who murdered Nicole Brown and Ronald Goldman. And there has just been a failure, absolute dismal failure, to show any of that actual evidentiary link which the case law requires.
Thank you, counsel.
Your Honor.
I'm sorry, Mr. Cochran, is there something that's absolutely necessary? It's normally proponent.
It is, I consider absolutely, about 1 minute of absolutely necessary things.
1 minute.
Thank you, Your Honor. In that regard, I just wanted to point out to the court with regard to People v. Hall that where this evidence of third-party culpability would raise a reasonable doubt is capable of raising a reasonable doubt in the minds of the jurors of the trier fact. We've been permitted to put that on. You know, the question she raised is not our question. We have tried to link and show the court what the evidence would be in that regard. It seems to me it's totally reasonable under the circumstances for a trier of fact to find that reasonable, given the nature of what was happening, what happened that night, and under these circumstances. And the prosecution has a lot of theories, but theories oftentimes are mangled by the facts of the case. And so I just want to point that out to the court. That's the crux of that particular issue. But it has nothing to do with Dr. Reichart testifying. I think the court will concede that. There's abundance of testimony that he could make as to whether or not we would launch in that area is the issue when we get to Hall. That's all I want to say here.
All right, the issue here is the presentation of evidence of third-party culpability. The California Supreme Court in People v. Hall, which is at 41 Cal 3rd, addressed this issue very succinctly and gave the trial court a great deal of guidance, and specifically the comments made by Justice Mosk at page 833. The California Supreme Court has followed that reasoning also in People v. Karish, K-A-U-R-I-S-H, 52 Cal 3rd at 648. Also, as mentioned by counsel, People v. Clark at 3 Cal 4th, People v. Pride at 3 Cal 4th, and also the Justice Pro Tem's opinion in People v. Von Bias. These cases all indicate that before third-party culpability evidence is admissible, there must be evidence of motive, opportunity, and direct or circumstantial evidence linking a third party to the commission of the crime. I find that there was, given the facts of this case, opportunity for a third party. However, I find that the offer of proof regarding motive to be highly speculative, and I find the offer does not adequately address either direct or circumstantial evidence linking a third party to the scene. So the court will sustain the motion in limine to bar testimony from Dr. Reichart regarding drug usage by Faye Resnick. All right. So those other issues that we discussed in Dr. Reichart's contemporaneous dealings with Mr. Simpson on the date in question is clearly relevant. All right, let's take a recess for 15 for the court reporter.
May I just address the question for 15 seconds? I just heard Mr. Cochran mention the content of apparently some conversations Mr. Reichart had with Nicole Brown. I have not seen that in any discovery, and he is their witness, and I would like that if at all possible. In addition, on the 1054 issue as it relates to Christian Reichart, I have my notes, some notes, personal notes that I'd like to hand to the court on the 1054 issue ex parte. 1054.7.
All right, hand it to Mr. Robertson, please. We'll take 15. All right, let the record reflect we've been rejoined by all the members of our jury panel. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Glad to see you're all still with us. My apologies to you for the late start. We had a number of legal issues that I had to take up out of your presence before we got restarted again this morning. All right, Mr. Michael Gladden, would you resume the witness stand, please, sir? And Mrs. Robertson, do you have those two exhibits available? All right, good morning, Mr. Gladden.
Good morning.
You're reminded, sir, you are still under oath. Mr. Cochran, have you concluded your direct examination?
Yes, I have.
All right, Mr. Darden.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, Mr. Gladden.
Good morning.
Mr. Gladden, when you saw the defendant, O.J. Simpson, here, he looked pretty much the way you expected him to look, right?
Yes.
You've seen him on television before.
Yes.
All right, Mr. Gladden, can you hold the microphone a little closer to you, please? Thank you.
And was it your testimony that he looked like he was advertising jeans?
Yeah, I had seen an ad with him wearing basically the same thing he was wearing that day.
I take it you've never seen O.J. Simpson at his home?
No.
You didn't know him before that night?
No, I didn't.
This was the first time you'd ever met the defendant?
Yes.
This was the first time you'd ever been face-to-face with the defendant?
Yes.
Okay. And so you really can't tell us then how he normally behaves.
That's true.
You can't tell us what his usual demeanor is, can you?
No.
You never saw the defendant carry any luggage?
I seen him trying to close a tall bag, and I think he laid something on the cart after the limo driver had put a bunch of stuff on the cart.
Okay. But you didn't see him carry any luggage, did you?
I really wasn't paying attention to that.
So you didn't see him carry any luggage?
No,
You didn't see him carry something over his shoulder?
I wasn't. After he gave me the autograph, Mike Norris came to ask me something, and so I really wasn't watching what he was doing.
And after, we'll strike that. When you got the autograph, you handed the defendant a pad, the Post-its that you
Yes.
showed us yesterday. Is that right?
Yes,
Did you also hand him an ink pen?
yes, I did.
And did he take that ink pen out of your hand when you extended your hand?
Yes,
Did he drop the ink pen?
no,
Did he seem to have any trouble grasping the ink pen?
no,
And he took that ink pen and he took that pad, right?
yes,
Okay. Did he have any trouble grasping the pad?
no,
Did he grimace in pain at all when he took the ink pen from you?
no,
By the way, did you shake the defendant's hand?
no, I didn't.
He didn't extend his hand to you?
Well, he just took the autograph, the thing, autographed it, and handed it back.
Did you ever extend your hand to him as if to offer a handshake?
No, I just said thank you. I said you're welcome.
Did the defendant have a cut on his left hand?
No, I didn't see one.
Did you look at his left hand?
I mean, I didn't come up to him and start examining his hand. I just asked for an autograph.
Well, did you see his left hand?
Yeah, I seen both his hands.
Did you see both of his hands and his entire left and right hand?
Pretty much so.
Saw the top of his hand, the palm.
Yes.
Saw the bottom of his hand.
Well, he held it, the thing like this when he signed it, and then just handed it back. So
Did you see the bottom of his hand?
not really that closely.
Did you see the bottom of his hand?
No.
And Mr. Darden, Mr. Darden, when you were saying the bottom of your hand and asking the question, you were rubbing the back of your left hand with the palm of your right hand.
Did you see the back of the defendant's left hand?
Not when I was standing real close, no.
Did you ever see the back of the defendant's left hand?
When he got out of the limo, I seen how big he was, and I was like checking out how big his hands were and stuff.
Now, on October 7, 1994, you received a telephone call from LAPD Detective Richard Croxley. Is that correct?
Yes.
And he read to you a written statement that you had given the defense. Is that right?
Yes.
And he asked you whether or not you had observed the bottom of the defendant's left hand, didn't he?
Yes, he asked.
And you told him that you had not seen the bottom or observed the bottom of the defendant's hand that night, correct?
Right.
Okay. And when you referred to, or rather used the term bottom, you were referring to the back of the defendant's hand, weren't you?
Yes.
Okay. You can't tell this jury that the defendant did not have a cut on his left hand when you saw him, can you?
I can tell if he was bleeding or not.
You can tell?
I mean, I didn't. He asked me, did I see any blood? I said no.
Okay. You didn't see any blood on the defendant?
No.
You didn't see any blood on the back of his left hand?
No.
Then again, you didn't see the back of his left hand, right?
Right.
So you don't know whether the defendant's, whether the back of the defendant's finger on the left hand was cut or not, do you?
No.
During the time that you were speaking to the defendant, O.J. Simpson,
Yes.
were you standing up on the sidewalk?
No, I was in my van.
Pardon me?
I was like near my van.
Were you on the sidewalk near your van?
No, on the outside of the van.
Okay. But were you on the sidewalk?
No, I wasn't.
Okay. Where was the defendant?
He was by the back of the limo.
Okay. Is that the only place you spoke to the defendant?
Yes.
Now, how did you describe the defendant's demeanor yesterday?
Pretty calm. Just taking his time.
Did he appear calm throughout your contact with him?
Yes, pretty much so.
Was there ever a point during your contact with the defendant that he did not appear calm?
No.
Mr. Gladden, you work at a Vaughn's supermarket, don't you?
Yes.
And that supermarket is located at 230. Excuse me, that supermarket is located
Hold
on.
on, just the city is fine.
Okay. The supermarket is located in the city of Santa Monica.
Yes.
Okay. And what do you do there?
Work in a service deli.
Were you there this past Monday, July 10th?
Yes.
And while you were there Monday, July 10th, you were telling people about your observations of the defendant that night. Correct?
Yes.
Was there a point during your contact with the defendant that he lost his calm or was not calm?
No.
During the time that you were speaking to the defendant, a car pulled up. Is that right?
Not that I was aware of.
Not that you're aware of?
There's cars coming and going all the time.
Okay. You recall a car pulling up and stopping and someone blowing a horn?
No, I don't recall that.
You don't recall the defendant becoming startled after someone blew a horn?
No.
Do you know someone named Robert Driscoll?
No, I don't.
Do you know a driver for Bond's Grocery named Robert
No.
or Bob?
No.
Did you have contact with a driver for Bond's Grocery on Monday, July 10?
I mean, I come in contact with drivers all the time. But usually our loads come in on Tuesdays.
Did you have contact with the driver on Monday?
I'm not sure. I don't think so.
Isn't it true, Mr. Gladden, that you told a driver for Bond's Grocery that while you were talking to the defendant, a vehicle pulled up?
No, that's not true.
Did you tell anyone that?
I told nobody that.
Okay. Didn't you tell a driver from Bond's Grocery that a vehicle pulled up and the driver honked the horn?
No, I never have.
And didn't you tell that driver that when the driver honked that horn, the defendant, O.J. Simpson, almost jumped out of his skin, Mr. Gladden?
I never said that.
You never said that, Mr. Gladden?
No, I didn't.
Didn't you tell someone, a driver for Bond's Grocery, that the defendant appeared startled when he heard that
No.
horn? Mr. Gladden, you asked for the defendant's autograph because he was a celebrity, is that correct?
That's true.
And you've asked other celebrities for their autographs, haven't you?
Yes.
How many celebrity autographs have you obtained?
Since I've been working there, probably about 3 or 4 maybe.
Okay. And who else? What other autographs have you obtained?
Cecil Fielder.
Okay, he's a baseball player.
Yes. And I got I think Steve Garvey. I got it for somebody else.
Okay, he's a baseball player.
Yes.
And who else?
And Lou Holtz was a football coach.
Notre Dame's football coach,
Yeah,
Lou Holtz.
he was out there practicing his golf swing.
Anybody else?
O.J. Simpson.
Okay. You don't have any celebrity autographs from any actresses?
Ty Babylonia came in the store one time and I got her autograph.
Okay. But for the most part, the celebrity autographs that you have are autographs from sports heroes, right?
Yes.
Okay. You watch a lot of sports, do you?
Yes, I do.
Now, you told us yesterday what the defendant was wearing when you saw him, correct?
Yes.
Was he wearing socks, Mr. Gladden?
I have no idea.
You didn't look down to see whether or not the defendant was wearing socks?
He was wearing boots.
Boots?
Kind of like dress boots or something like that, looked like.
Can you describe those for us, please?
Kind of like tan color, like a baseball glove color.
Okay. Did you see the defendant's ankle?
No.
You can't tell us whether or not the defendant was wearing socks at that time?
No, I can't.
Now, after you obtained that autograph from the defendant, he turned and he walked away, is that correct?
Yes.
Now, at any time prior to that, did the defendant ever appear to you to be in pain?
No.
And as he turned and walked away, you watched him?
Well, Mike Norris walked towards me, and he asked me what did he say when he asked about it, if his son was still playing football. And I said I really didn't
Let me
hear
stop
him.
you there. It's not responsive. Well, but you saw the defendant walk away.
Yes.
Did he have any trouble walking?
No, not that I was aware of.
Okay. You didn't notice anything unusual about the way the defendant walked away, did you?
No.
Now, did you see him walk over to the Skycap station?
He was like kind of standing in between the sky cap and like where the door was.
And there's a trash can located between the door jamb and the
I
Skycap
think there's
station. Is that
I
right?
think there's a couple of them like on each side.
Did you see the defendant place anything on top of that trash can?
No.
You didn't see him place a bag on top of the trash can?
No.
Did you see some golf clubs that night?
Not that I was aware of, no.
Did you see anyone take a golfing bag, a golf club bag out of the trunk of the limo?
No, I seen like a big black bag. I don't know what was in it.
Was that black bag about 4.5 feet tall?
Yes.
And did you and Michael Norris leave the curb at the same time?
I think I pulled out before he did.
Did you tell us yesterday that you saw the defendant at the rear of the limousine?
Yes.
Okay. And you saw him open up a bag?
No, I never said that.
You didn't see the defendant open up a bag?
No.
Did you see him reach into a bag?
No.
You see him remove anything from a bag?
No.
You weren't looking at the defendant's hands specifically to see if he had a cut on his hand.
No, it wasn't.
You hadn't heard anything about Ron Goldman having been murdered at that point.
No.
And you hadn't heard anything about Nicole Brown having been murdered at that point.
No, I haven't.
And so that the record is clear, your assessment of the defendant's demeanor that night is based solely on the brief contact you had with him, right?
Yes.
Okay. And that was the first time you ever met him?
Yes.
Did you see the defendant speak to the Sky Cat?
No.
Did you leave, sorry, did you see the defendant approaching the Sky Cat?
No, I did not.
Thank you, that's all I have.
Mr. Cochran? All right, Mr. Gladden, thank you very much, sir. You're excused.
Next witness was called Mr. Howard Bingham.
All right. All right, Mr. Bingham, would you please stand at the podium there? Hold on just a second.
Raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you may give in the cause of duty before this court to be the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? I do. Please have a seat on the witness stand and state spell your first and last name to the record.
Howard Bingham. Howard, H-O-W-A-R-D, L. Bingham, B-I-N-G-H-A-M.
All right, Mr. Bingham, would you just sit back and pull the microphone close to you, please? Mr. Cochran.
Thank you very kindly. Good morning, Mr. Bingham.
Hi, sir. How are you doing?
Mr. Bingham, sir, what is your occupation?
I am a photographer,
And are you a world-renowned photographer?
the world's greatest.
And just so we're clear about that, have you recently published a 30-year journey of Howard Bingham, your own personal book on photography?
Yes, I did. I'm Muhammad Ali.
And do you have acquaintance with a man by the name of Muhammad Ali?
Yes, I do.
What about that acquaintance? How long have you known him?
I've been on Ali ever since 1962. I've been all over the world with him, and some say he's my best friend. I talk to him all the time, every day. Just left him the night before last, had to come here.
All right. You've come here pursuant to subpoena to testify, is that correct?
Yes, I was at the All-Star game.
And in addition to being the best photographer in the world, do you have any other occupation?
Yes, I am. I will be producing a movie with Sony and John Peters on Muhammad Ali's life,
Very good.
which we just signed this not too long ago.
Are you nervous today?
Very.
And do you have a slight speech impediment?
Yes, I do, but that's no hindrance.
All right.
I'm here.
All right, good. Thank you very much for coming. Sir, are you acquainted with the gentleman over here, Mr. O.J. Simpson?
Yes, I am.
And about how long have you known Mr. Simpson?
I have been seeing and knowing him ever since about 1968 when he was at USC.
And so you came to know him there. Did you ever take pictures at that time?
Yes, that's how I met him. I am a photographer, and I was at the games and in the locker rooms and just taking pictures at the games here and there.
All right. And as such, would you say that he's an acquaintance of yours, somebody you've known over the years?
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, Mr. Bingham, sir, I want to direct your attention back to the date of Sunday evening, June 12th, 1994. Did you have occasion to be at Los Angeles International Airport on that evening?
Yes, I did.
And did you have occasion to leave Los Angeles to go someplace that evening?
Yes.
And where were you going?
I was on the way to Chicago.
All right. And why were you going to Chicago?
I had a meeting that Monday morning with Muhammad Ali and a friend of mine, John J. Hooker.
All right. And so do you remember what time your flight was due to leave that evening?
11:45.
And do you remember about what time you got on the flight?
I'm always late, so it was about 11:30. 11:40 maybe. 11:35, 40 around there sometime.
All right. You have, by the way, you were flying first class, of course, right?
No, I was not flying first class.
You were in coach?
I was in coach, unfortunately.
Okay. All right. And let me ask you this. Have you provided me with a copy of a boarding pass that you had that particular night?
Yes, I did.
And I'd like to mark that as defendant's next in order for court, please.
I'm sorry, 12:44.
May I approach, Your Honor?
You may.
We have the counsel copy. Mr. Bingham, I want to show you a... Yeah. Oh, you have the original. Would you like to keep the original?
Yes, I would.
Okay. Well, let me just show you a copy, Your Honor. This is a copy made from that original. And I'll place this before you. Is this a fair and accurate copy of the boarding pass that you provided us with for your taking that flight, I believe, 668 Chicago on June 12th at 11:45 p.m.?
It is.
And as I understand it, it also has your seat number. We can make that out on that night.
Yes.
And what was your seat number?
On here it says 21E.
All right.
I think. I don't have my glasses.
All right, well. Your Honor, I'm going to show this quickly to counsel and then...
I think we've seen those.
Right. That's right.
21E?
Yes.
Okay. Now, I want you, have you ever seen this diagram before, Mr. Bingham?
Yes.
And I want you to look to your right there, and there's an indication that you were back in row 21. And were you at the window seat?
I was in the middle because what happened was I had the whole row. I was going to sleep that night.
All right. And so you had...
Matter of fact, what happened was... Okay, I'm sorry.
It's okay. You had 21E.
Yes,
Here
yes.
Your Honor, may I mark this as our text exhibit?
Yes, they'll be
It's
12:45.
I'll put 12:45 over here. So, you were about to tell us that you had 21E, the middle seat, is that correct?
Yes.
But you worked it out so that you could get all three seats and go to sleep, is that what
Yes, I did.
All right. So, the area where we have depicted on here, Howard Bingham with 21F, and then next to E and D, that's the row that you occupied that night, right?
Yes, it was.
Okay, sir. Now, after you got on this flight, as you described for us, 11:30, 11:35, 11:40, did you have occasion to see someone else come on that flight?
Yes, I did.
After that? And who was that person?
It was Mr. O.J. Simpson.
And when you saw Mr. O.J. Simpson, did you have any contact with him shortly thereafter?
Yes, I did.
All right. And where was he in regards to where you were seated in the plane?
He was. He had just entered the airplane, and I saw him get on, and so I had got up out of my seat and walked up just to say hello to him.
All right. So you walked up from the row 21 up to the first class area. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. Now there's an area on this diagram. Can you see it from there? That shows the first class area just generally, the front part of the plane. This is the area in which you went.
Yes.
All right. And when you walked up there, did you have occasion to have a conversation with Mr. O.J. Simpson?
I did.
What'd you say to him, if anything?
I walked up there and I tapped him on the shoulder. He looked around at me and said, "Hey, Bingham, how you doing?"
All right. Did you have any further conversation at all?
Yes, I did. I was asking him where was he going, and so he asked me where was I going. So I'd like to mention that I was going to Chicago.
All right. How long did your conversation last with Mr.
A
Simpson?
minute or so. After that, the hostess had asked me to go back to my seat because we was about to leave.
The plane was about to take off?
Yes, the plane was about to take off.
So now during this conversation that you had with Mr. Simpson, did you have occasion to look at him, look at his demeanor? How he appeared?
Yes.
Can you describe for this court and jury how Mr. Simpson appeared to you at that time? How did he seem?
He had seemed like the old OJ that I always see here and there. I see him all over East Coast, New York, Florida, all over all the time with Ali sometimes, and sometimes on my own because I'm all over football games.
Did he seem relaxed to you?
He did.
While you were talking to him, did you have occasion to look at his hands at all?
I remember when I had walked up there, he was sitting in the middle of the seats there, putting money or something in his pocket or something.
All right, had some money in his pockets?
Yeah, which he had it in his hands or something.
Yeah, let me see.
I don't know if going from one hand to another, but
He had money in his hands. Is that
money
right?
or some kind of things.
All right, that you're gonna put in his pocket.
Yeah, something.
And did you observe that?
Yes, I did.
And when you saw that, could you see his hands? Let's say, first of all, could you see his left hand?
I saw his left and right hand.
All right. And did you notice anything unusual about either his left or right hand?
I did not notice anything unusual.
Did you see any cuts on either his left or right hand?
I don't think so, no.
Did you see any blood on either his left or right hand?
I did not.
Did you see any blood on any of his clothing at that time?
I did not.
Now, after seeing him and talking to him briefly, and when the stewardess told you that you had to return to your seat, did you return to your seat?
I did.
So that we're clear, you went back to the area of row 21, is that correct?
I did.
All right, and then, did you talk to Mr. Simpson at all during that fight anymore?
No, I did not.
And you're both going to Chicago, and when you got to Chicago, did you have occasion to see him at all?
I did.
And where did you next see Mr. Simpson after the encounter you just told our jury about?
I saw him the next time. It was in the baggage area at the Chicago airport downstairs.
All right, was he met by some person, if you know?
There was a man with him at the time I saw him. Cause
All right, there was a man down there with him?
yes,
And did you say anything to him when you saw him down there at all?
I did.
All right. Well, without going into it, did you have occasion to stay around that airport for a while before you left to go downtown to Chicago?
I did.
All right. And did Mr. Simpson leave before you left?
He did. Yes.
And who did he leave in the company of, if anyone?
With another guy. I don't know his name or anything.
All right. Is that the same guy you just described, the same individual you
Yes,
just described
yes,
for us?
yes.
All right. And when you saw Mr. Simpson downstairs, was that in the baggage area at O'Hare?
It was.
Okay, we at O'Hare Airport.
O'Hare Airport.
And when you saw him there, was his demeanor the same as it had been when you saw him getting on the flight? That counsel's correct. Let me just try to shorten it, but let me ask you, how did Mr. Simpson appear to you when you saw him down in the baggage area before he left?
It was the same as I always see him, you know.
All right, well, thank you very, very much for coming today, Mr. Bingham. We appreciate it. Nothing further at this point, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Clark.
Mr. Cochran just said he'd give Mr. Darden your book if I said no questions.
Thank you. I'll leave now.
Okay. It'll be very, very, very brief, sir. All right, now you have been seeing the defendant off and on in your travels for many years, correct?
Yes, I have.
Have you ever socialized with him, sir?
No, not really.
Okay. Did you ever visit him in his home?
No, I have not.
Has he ever visited you in your home?
He has not.
Have you ever gone out to dinner with him
I have not.
or lunch?
I have not. I was at events where he was at lunch, you know, with Ali, and so he was in the audience.
Okay, so you're talking about a big
in a big thing
auditorium.
with hundreds of people.
Okay. So,
Not alone though.
Not alone. All right. And on those occasions, sir, were you seated at the same table with him or just in the same room?
Same room and up front because I was always with Ali, and so.
So all the big people sit up
Yeah.
front,
Not all the time.
but sometimes?
Yes, sometimes.
Okay, and then he'd be there too.
Yes.
But you were not alone together on those occasions, correct?
No.
They were public events.
Yes, right.
Okay. And so, on all occasions when you saw the defendant, would it be fair to say, sir, that you saw him only in public?
Most of the time, yes.
Was there any occasion when you saw him in private? What I mean by that is alone in a room where there was no one else around.
There have been times, say, like I remember we was in Florida, and I just saw him in the bar area, the hotel bar area.
Okay, but again, that's a
Yeah,
public
right,
area
right.
too.
So
There was a bartender there.
yeah, over to the side. Yes.
Okay. What I mean is alone in a room where there was no one else. Never happened.
No, never.
And I'm sorry.
Mr. Bingham, if you would you allow Ms. Clark to finish asking you the question before you start to answer, because the court reporter is having a hard time because you're both trying to talk at the same time.
I shall.
Okay. You'll get out of here a lot quicker if we do it that way.
Thank you.
Ms. Clark.
Now, your book, does it attempt to depict the different sides of Muhammad Ali?
Yes, it is.
And so there is one aspect of Muhammad Ali that you see in public. Is that correct?
Oral. You can answer the question.
You can answer
Sit
that.
down.
It's okay, yes. You can answer the question. Do you remember it?
No.
It's okay. I'll do it again. Your book attempts to depict the different aspects of Muhammad Ali, correct?
Yes.
As he behaves privately and as he behaves publicly. Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
Now, thank you. Sorry, sir. Now, when you got on the plane in Los Angeles, was the defendant the last person to board?
I don't know if he was the last, but he was like one of the last.
And when you went up to see him, he was seated.
Yo, thank goodness this didn't happen during my outing. 'Cause that would suck. It still sucks, but it doesn't suck as bad. So I never had to put this on before. And I don't even see it now. I don't see the autoplay next. Am I stupid? Yes, I know I'm stupid, but I don't know what's going on.
Photographs that I've shown to Mr. Cochran. I'd like to show them to the witness. Mark the first one. People's next in order, 503.
503.
I think that's right. All right, so showing you People's 503. Can you tell us if you recognize, in general, that as the appearance of the inside of the plane?
Yes, it is.
And does that look like first class, sir?
It does.
Put this on the Elmo so the jury can see it too, Your Honor. All right, and that's where you walked up to that area to speak with the defendant. Is that right, sir?
Yes. Yes.
Mr. Bingham, there's a monitor right to your right there.
Thank you.
Mr. Wooden, I think we need the styrofoam overhead. Yes, thank you.
Now, do you see the blue seats farther to the rear? Can you see on your monitor, sir?
Yes. Yes.
You see the blue seats to the rear of the first class seating, sir?
Yes, I see them.
Is that back where you were seated?
Unfortunately, it was that night. Can I say something?
Wait,
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
you had the whole row to yourself, sir?
I did.
Now, you had... Okay, you told us, sir, that you spent about 1 minute with the defendant at that point.
Yes, it was around there, a minute and a half minute. I don't know. I wasn't timing, but it was fast.
And was there a stewardess that works in first class who was there at the time?
Yes, it was.
Was she the one that told you to have a seat because they were going to take off?
Yes.
Okay, now, first class has its own its own bathroom, doesn't it, sir?
Yes, it does.
And I'm going to show you another photograph. Oh, another couple photographs. People's 504, Your
But
Honor.
I am special. My mom
Let me show
told
you
me
first
so.
close-up, sir, and ask you. You sat in first class before, haven't you?
Normally, I do.
This was an exception this night.
I had a lot of phone calls and said, Bingham, you can coach.
How did that happen?
What?
That they put you in coach?
No, what happened was it was at night, and so I had a whole row, and so I just went to sleep.
So that was okay.
It was for me because I rested
Okay.
as much. But I had a lot of phone calls that next afternoon, that next morning that I was on the opening statements. Say, Bingham, you're cheap.
World-class photographer sitting in coach. Is that right?
Well, greatest.
Right, I'm sorry. You're a smart man, Judge.
All right, I'm showing you what appears to be a door on the left-hand side of the seating, and I'm going to direct your attention to that area for my following questions. This appears to be first class, does it not?
Yes, it is.
You're familiar with what that looks like?
Yes.
And the door that I'm pointing to on the left, sir, is that a bathroom door?
Yes, I think so. I think it is from here, yeah, but I cannot see this side.
Let me show you another picture that might be a little bit better. People's 505, Your Honor.
505.
Mr. Bingham, I can show you People's 505, a little bit closer view of that door in conjunction with the other photograph, taken from a different
Yes.
perspective, but
Yes,
appear to be a lavatory door, sir?
it is.
All right, thank you. I may show it to the jury, Your Honor? On the envelope.
Yes.
Mr. Bingham, for the benefit of the jury, sir, can you tell us, we were just discussing the door to the left. This is in first class, correct?
Right.
Okay. And you're facing, there's that white arrow there?
Yes,
Is that white arrow pointing to the door?
it is.
That's a lavatory door, correct?
Right.
And in People's 505, People's 505, sir, on the right-hand side of this photograph, we're facing from the other direction. Is that the first-class lavatory door on the right-hand side?
It is.
All right. Thank you, sir. Now, that was a red-eye flight, was it not, sir?
Yes,
And so you slept through it, right?
most of the flight.
And how long a flight was it?
It was under 4 hours, I think.
Okay. And had you planned to sleep through that flight, sir?
I would always would like to. Sometimes I cannot.
And that night you did.
Most of it I did. Yes,
Were the lights dimmed on that red eye?
yes sure.
And isn't that pretty usual when you're on the red eye flight? They dim all the lights
Yes,
because people like to sleep.
yes.
All right. So you did not see the defendant throughout the entire flight, correct?
I did not.
Now, do you recall what the defendant was wearing when you went up to see him in first class for that 1-minute conversation?
I do not. No, no.
Did you happen to notice whether he was writing anything or signing any autographs at that time?
I did not see him signing any autographs. He was alone and he was doing something, putting some money in his hands or something like that. I don't know exactly what.
And was he standing or was he seated at the time you spoke to him?
He was actually sitting sitting on the.
He's a
middle
photographer. That's all I know.
seats
On
in
the
middle
plane
at
with
that
him.
time.
So he was already sitting down when you saw him?
Not all the way down, but on the middle.
On the armrest?
On the armrest in the middle, yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. And which hand was it that he put into his pocket, if you know?
I didn't see him put his hand into his pocket. I just saw him put some of his hands.
Do something with his
Oh,
hand?
yeah, right. He had some money in it or something. I don't know.
Okay. Was he taking his hand out of his pocket? Or
I did not see him.
Didn't see that, too?
No, I see.
Okay. Would it be fair to say, sir, you weren't paying particularly close attention to his hands?
I was, no, I was not. No, I was not.
Okay. You weren't expecting to see any injury or any cuts on him, were you, sir?
I was not looking for anything.
Right, you weren't looking for any. And then you saw him again in Chicago, correct?
I did.
And at that time, sir, did you spend a long time talking to him?
A while. While he was waiting on his bags and I was waiting on my luggage.
Okay. And how long is a while, sir?
A few minutes, a couple minutes. So what happened was, okay, yes.
Okay. And at that time, were you paying close attention to his hands or trying to
No,
observe?
I was not.
Trying to make any That's all right. I'll just stop. He knows. So you weren't looking to see if he was injured particularly? Is that true?
I did not.
All right. So you and the defendant are not close personal friends. Would that be a fair statement?
Right.
You're acquaintances, correct?
Yes.
And if there was some subtle difference in the way he was acting on that particular night, you would not detect it. Would that be a fair statement?
I don't know. I just know how he was with me. Hi, Bingham.
Yeah.
How you doing? Like that.
Okay. And if he was putting on an act to try and cover up what was going on inside, if he was feeling differently than he'd appeared, you wouldn't know that, would you?
Sustain.
Okay, you can only tell us what you were able to observe, correct?
Yes.
You saw how he behaved outwardly. Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
You don't know what he was feeling inside, do you?
Oh,
You can answer that.
What's that now?
You can answer that.
What's that?
You don't know what he was feeling inside, do you, sir?
I'm not a psychiatrist or a psychologist.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bingham.
Thank you.
Cochran.
Mr. Bingham, if Mr. Simpson was acting that night He's been acting that same way since 1968, is that right?
He was the same to me. Whenever I see him, he knows me because of Ali. So he been asked me about Ali. So
All right. Thank you very much for coming, and give our best to the champ. Will you do that?
I shall. Thank you.
Ms. Clark? May you redirect?
Thank you, Your Honor. Nothing
All right,
further.
Mr. Bingham, thank you very much for coming in, sir.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Cochran, your next witness, please.
The next witness, Your Honor, was Mr. Steve Allen. We got ready to proceed.
All right. All right, Mr. Valerie, would you stand at the podium there, please, face the clerk?
Raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you may give in the cause not before this court shall be the truth and whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please have a seat on the witness stand and state your first and last name for the record.
Stephen Valerie, Stephen Valerie.
Mr. Cochran.
Very kindly. Good morning, Mr. Valerie.
Morning.
Mr. Valerie, did you fly back into Los Angeles last night to be here to testify with us today?
I sure did.
And Mr. Valerie, I want you to look at the gentleman to my left over here, Mr. O.J. Simpson. Had you ever seen him in person prior to June 12th of 1994?
Never.
On that date, on June 12th of 1994, did you have occasion to board an American Airlines Flight 668 from Los Angeles to Chicago?
That is correct.
And before we get to that, what is your present occupation or avocation?
I just graduated from the MBA program at UCLA.
UCLA?
Correct.
All right. And at that, in June of 94, were you a student at UCLA at that point?
Correct. Just completed my first year.
Now, in that connection, do you remember approximately what time it was that you boarded this particular flight 668?
I boarded just right as they were closing the gates. I'd say probably about 11:40.
All right. And when you boarded the flight, were you seated in either in coach or in first class?
I was upgraded to first class and sat in seat 4A.
All right. When you're upgraded, you use your stickers?
Correct.
You're a frequent traveler?
Absolutely.
When you take your coach ticket, you're able to buy your way into first class?
That's correct.
All right. May I approach Your Honor, 1245?
You may.
I want you to take a quick look at have you ever seen this diagram before? 1245?
I saw it on the opening statements.
Okay. And in that connection, the front part of the plane up here is first class, is that correct?
That's correct.
And there's an area here that generally puts you in row 5. I guess that's row 5. At any rate, let me strike that, Your Honor. What row did you occupy that night in first class?
I sat in what they number row number 4. In fact, it was the second row on that side of the plane, and the third row from Mr. Simpson's side.
All right. And so let me see if I can understand this. And this is a Super 80 plane. In that plane, there's 2 seats on each side of first class and 1 aisle.
Correct.
All right. Now you can turn that. And in that connection, did you sit in a window seat or in an aisle seat?
I sat in the window seat,
So your seat number was what?
4A.
And Mr. Simpson then would be across the aisle from you in which seat, if you recall?
4D.
All right. Now,
If
when
it's-
you first got on the plane, did you see Mr. Simpson at that time?
When I first got on the plane, no, I entered first.
All right.
Was standing, organizing my bags, putting in the overhead, and then saw him enter right after I did.
And you saw Mr. Simpson in a short time after you did.
Correct.
All right. And when you first saw him, did you recognize him?
Sure, immediately.
All right. And after he first entered, did you have occasion to observe him at that point?
I observed him pretty much from the moment he entered the flight.
All right. Tell us what you observed about him at the time as you saw him enter the flight.
I noticed, first off, that obviously he came on board last. I had expected I would be the last on board. So he came on, and I looked back, and he, I think others in the first class and also in the cabin class noticed him, so everyone had his eyes gazed upon Mr. Simpson. And I proceeded to take my seat, and he put one of his bags in the overhead compartment, and the gentleman sitting behind me in seat 5B, that would be, said hello to him, and they knew each other, it seemed like, from their conversation. It was a brief conversation. They shook hands, and the flight attendant motioned that it was time to sit down, time to get ready for takeoff, and so I also believe right before takeoff, Mr. Simpson asked for a glass of water, and that was brought out to him before takeoff.
All right. Now, you made all these observations from your location there at 4A primarily, right?
That's correct.
And when Mr. Simpson first entered, can you describe, and as he was interacting with the other passengers, can you describe for the jury his mood, how he appeared to you?
He was
How he appeared?
Overruled.
He was very pleasant, smiling. I noticed his clothing was very well pressed, looked very sharp. In fact, I was looking particularly just because of his celebrity from his Hertz commercials and the fact that he was so late on board. I was looking to see if he was sweating, and he looked absolutely normal. His clothing was very well pressed, and he sat down and looked over actually a couple times at the beginning and then later on the flight and smiled and seemed very approachable.
All right. You mentioned his clothes were neatly pressed. Do you have a recollection? Can you, the best you can now, describe for this jury how he was dressed in your best recollection?
Sure. He was wearing, to my recollection, a button-down shirt with long sleeves with a T-shirt underneath. He had some kind of cotton pants on, either khaki or light blue or something. He was wearing leather loafers with leather mesh on the front portion of the shoe. He wasn't wearing any socks that evening, and yeah, hair was trimmed. I mean, that's
what you recall about it. Is that
correct.
Do you know whether? No, strike that. Now, you made these observations again from your seat in 4A. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And at some point, the stewardess told you to, or the first strike that, the flight attendant is probably a more appropriate statement, Your Honor. The flight attendant suggested that everybody should get in their seats because the flight would be taking off. Is that correct?
That's correct. Mr. Simpson was the only one really standing at that point, and so it was just a quick. We're getting ready for takeoff, so everyone take your seats.
All right. So after a period of time, the flight did in fact take off. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Did you, for a period of time after you were airborne, have occasion to observe Mr. Simpson additionally?
Yes. After takeoff, I was awake for probably about, I would estimate a little over an hour of the flight, of a 3.5-hour flight. I positioned myself actually facing him, using the fuselage of the plane as a backrest, if you will.
Let me see if I can explain that.
Sure.
The fuselage of the plane. If you're seated, and so I can use this demonstration again. If you're seated, and this is the pilot up here, you would normally be seated straight forward. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And Mr. Simpson's, I understand, would be to your right over to the window seat. Is that
That's
correct?
correct.
And what you're demonstrating for us, move me around, how you moved yourself around so you could see Mr. Simpson.
You can rotate like this. I leaned about this angle and had my feet up. I elevated the leg rest of the other seat as well as mine, so I'd have just a little bit more leg room. So that position had a pretty clear view of Mr. Simpson throughout the flight.
All right, so for the record, Your Honor, he's indicated he turned his body, I guess, to the left, so his back would be against. Is that the end window behind you?
Correct.
And then you had a clear view toward where Mr. Simpson was seated.
Actually, it looks to me like you're turning to the right
Let's see.
and at a 40 to 45 degree angle facing diagonally is what it appears to me to be.
You know what? I think you're right. You're right. Moving to the right, 45 degrees. Thank you, Your Honor. And from that vantage point, then, were you able to see Mr. Simpson?
Yes, I was. And observed him.
I'll ask another question.
Ask another question.
Now, from that vantage point, what did you observe, if anything, about Mr. Simpson? Tell us what you saw in your own words.
The first thing I noticed was before takeoff, he was asked to put his bag underneath the seat, and he put that bag, a small black leather duffel bag, underneath the seat directly in front of him before takeoff. After we took off, he pulled that same bag out and put it on the empty passenger seat next to him, and proceeded to open that bag up and pulled out a manila envelope. I'm sorry, not envelope, a manila folder with a document inside. Why I call it a document, I was able to see that it was a double-spaced type document on white paper, 8.5 by 11, and it was loose leaf. So he proceeded to read that document at the point at which I was observing him.
Ask him what happened.
Overruled.
Ask him what happened next.
All right. Okay, I'll do that. What happened next?
He proceeded to read that, sipped on his water, and it was pretty uneventful, really. I mean, we were just flying on a red-eye flight. He, again, because of my position...
Next question.
All right, sir. Mr. Valerie, as you watched Mr. Simpson from this vantage point, did you have occasion to look at his face?
I sure did.
Did you see any bruises or cuts or abrasions on his face at that point?
None whatsoever.
Did you have occasion, from this vantage point you described for us, to look at Mr. Simpson's hands?
I did.
And what, if anything, did you see with regard to his hands?
I viewed Mr. Simpson's hands specifically looking for a championship ring, given his fame as a professional football player. That was the motivation for my looking at his hands. I didn't see anything unusual, no Band-Aids, no large abrasions or anything to that effect.
You see any cuts at all?
I didn't see any.
See any blood on his hands?
No blood.
And by the way, you said you were looking for a championship ring. Is that like a Super Bowl ring?
Yes.
Some of that nature. And did you see one at that time?
No, I did not.
All right. And so you had a pretty clear, unobstructed view of Mr. Simpson as you were looking and making these observations. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right.
His left hand would have been the hand I saw closest and best view of.
And I don't recall whether or not, did he ever take a book out of this bag that you were describing?
I saw the book out. I didn't actually see him take that out. I saw it out on the seat.
Right. And with regard to these papers that you say, the double-spaced papers that he was reading, could you tell what that was? I'm asking if you could tell. Could you tell what that was? You can answer that.
Yes. No, I could not tell what it was, no.
All right. But it was something he was apparently reading. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right. And what you've told us about now, did this take place during the first hour or so of the flight that you've described for us?
That's correct.
All right. And at some point, Mr. Valerie, did you go to sleep that night?
Yes.
All right. And at that time, is there anything else that you observed about Mr. Simpson that you haven't told us about during this hour period of time regarding how he appeared to you and his mood?
No, he, like I said, he glanced over occasionally and smiled in a friendly manner on a couple of occasions.
When he first got on the plane and you said he was interacting with other passengers, how would you describe him at that point when he first got on the plane?
Jovial. He came on, like I said, shook hands with a gentleman behind me, and then another gentleman came up from the cabin class and greeted him and had a short word with him as well. Again, they seem to know each other.
Right. And the gentleman who came up from the cabin class, did you see him just go out of this courtroom a short time before you came in? All right. So at some point, he went to sleep. Is that correct? I mean, strike that. At some point, you went to sleep.
Yes, I did.
All right. And did you awaken prior to arriving in Chicago?
Yes.
And when you woke up, were you still able to see Mr. Simpson?
Correct.
Did you ever at any point see the pilot, the captain of that plane, Wayne Stansfield, come out and interact with Mr. O.J. Simpson?
I did not witness that, no.
All right. And when you awakened, did you see Mr. Simpson?
Yes.
All right. Where was he at that time?
Seated in the same seat, 4D.
Okay. What was he doing at the time you awakened?
Just preparing for landing, buckling seat belts and putting the seat forward and the like.
All right. You were getting close to landing at that point?
That's correct.
All right. And so then thereafter, the plane, of course, landed safely.
That's correct.
Right? You were at O'Hare Airport, right? Yes?
Yes.
All right. And then after you landed, can you describe for the jury who got up first to proceed out the door of that plane and describe that for us?
We landed, taxied to the gates, and the first person to the front of the aisleway was Mr. Simpson, and I followed him directly afterwards. We were asked to wait just behind the door that they were going to open, obviously for safety reasons, and so Mr. Simpson stood in front of me, waiting to deplane.
All right. Now, as Mr. Simpson stood in front of you, did he have, if you recall, was he carrying any bags at this point?
Yeah, he had his garment bag over his right shoulder, which was the side I really couldn't see well. His left shoulder was to me, as we were going to deplane on the left side of the plane.
And was there a strap on that garment bag, if you recall?
Yes, it was over his shoulder.
Okay. What color was that bag?
It was a darker color. I didn't
All right.
really see. That was the one that he stowed overhead.
All right. That was over the right shoulder. And then what about did you see any other bag?
Yeah, and then the second bag that he had with him in the seat, and he had that positioned over his shoulder, carrying it with the two straps in his hand, hanging over his back, and that was closest to me.
All right. And for the record, the witness is indicating his left hand with the bag over his left shoulder.
Yes, thank you.
Is that correct? Thank you. And you indicate that was closest to you? And were you standing right behind Mr. Simpson?
Yes, I was.
And from that vantage point, could you see Mr. Simpson's left hand, a part of his left hand?
I could have. I wasn't looking specifically at his hand at that point.
All right. Could you see his right hand at all?
No.
All right. So you were very close to him at this point, is that correct?
Yeah.
And did the two of you have any conversation or interaction at that point?
Yeah, we had I made a brief comment to him, which he smiled and I think in a groggy state acknowledged me.
All right. You seem groggy at this point?
Yeah, I think we were all pretty groggy at 4:30 in the morning.
All right. Plane was landing about 4:30.
Yeah.
All right. And at that point, what did you say, if anything?
I said to him, "You better be careful. Someone might think you're going to be doing a commercial."
And
The way his pose was, he looked like he was, and the fact that he was first to get off and looked like he was ready to get off that flight, he looked. I made that comment in jest.
All right. And did he say anything in response to that?
He smiled and indicated, "Yeah, I'm here to see Hertz," or something to that effect. I didn't have a clear memory, really, of what he said back to me, because right at that moment, the door flew open and we were walking down, so I was just walking with him and thought I may even get another word with him. So I was pretty much close to him walking out the gangway there and into the terminal, and then immediately he was greeted by a gentleman at the gate, where we both actually stopped to readjust our bags, and he shook hands with whoever greeted him and said hello and the like.
All right, so that was some gentleman met Mr. Simpson, and was that your last contact with him that day?
That's correct.
You didn't see him any further at that point?
We actually walked in tandem through the Chicago O'Hare terminal until he veered off to go to baggage claim. I was connecting on a flight to Washington, D.C.
So you're catching another flight and your baggage was going through?
That's correct.
All right. And there was any other conversation between the two of you as you walked in tandem until he veered off?
None. He was talking to the other gentleman.
All right, and there were three of you, basically. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. Now, did you have occasion to talk with an investigator from the Los Angeles Police Department by the name of Kratzley on or about October 5th of 1994?
Yes, I did.
All right, and have you ever seen a copy of his report before today?
I saw it earlier this morning.
First time?
Yes.
And I'd like to approach Your Honor just place the floor and ask the witness to read it.
Or we'll, we can just show it to him at this point, see if he recognizes it.
Yes, I'd like to.
Or we'll,
Let's take a look at that report and see whether or not that refreshes your recollection or you recognize the words there on a conversation with an investigator by the name of Kratzley, C-R-O-T-S-L-E-Y.
or we'll, question was, do you recognize this document? Whether the content is hearsay is another issue.
Yes, I recognize this.
All right, do you recognize this from your conversation with Detective Kratzley?
It's a summary of the statements I made to the detective.
When you talked to the detective, were you trying to be as accurate as you could?
Yes, I was.
And was this a telephonic conversation?
Yes.
By the way, do you remember whether or not the detective read you some statement prior to talking to you that day? Did he read a statement?
That I had made earlier?
Yes.
He read some portion of it. He did not read an entire transcript. He was referring, I believe, to the shoes on that second occasion, so he wanted to just read how I described the shoes.
All right, and did you describe the shoes for this detective in October?
Yes.
And what was your description of the shoes?
My description was that they were leather, European-looking loafers with black or dark blue leather and the mesh leather in the front top panel
They
of the shoe.
appeared to be loafers of some kind.
Correct.
Did you have occasion to describe for the detective Mr. Simpson's appearance and his clothing?
Can you repeat that question? I'm sorry.
Did you have occasion during this conversation with Detective Kratzley to describe Mr. Simpson's appearance, how he appeared to you on that
Yeah,
evening?
it's the same general things I've said here today and I've said all along.
All right. Have just a second more, you know. This will be it. You had not seen Mr. Simpson that night at 11:15, had you? You had not seen him at 11:15 p.m. on that Sunday night, had you?
No, I had not.
You hadn't seen him at 11 o'clock that night, had you?
No, I had not.
Hadn't seen him at 10:45 that night, had you?
I had not seen him at 10:45.
You didn't see him until about 11:40 or thereabouts that night. Is that right?
That is correct.
That's what you told us about here today?
That is correct.
You've told us the truth here today?
Yes, I have.
Thank you very kindly for coming.
Mr. Darden? About 4 minutes. Do you want to start now, or do you want to start after lunch?
It's okay with you, I'll have to start.
All right. All right, Mr. Valerie, I'm going to order you to come back then at 1:30, and we'll resume with your cross-examination by Mr. Darden. Ladies and gentlemen, please, you can step down now, Mr. Valerie. Ladies and gentlemen, please remember all of my admonitions to you. Don't discuss the case amongst yourselves. Don't form any opinions about the case. Don't conduct any deliberations until the matter has been submitted to you. Do not allow anybody to communicate with you with regard to the case. We'll stand in recess until 1:30, and we'll be in session today until 6. All right. All right, all parties are again present. All right, okay. Sure. Lady McNair, let's have the jurors, please. Please be seated. All right, let the record reflect that we've been rejoined by all the members of our jury panel. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Valerie, would you resume the witness stand, please? All right, good afternoon, Mr. Valerie. You're reminded, sir, you were still under oath. Mr. Darden.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Mr. Valerie.
Hello.
Sir, what do you do for a living?
Recent graduate of the Anderson Graduate School of Management at UCLA, and currently on vacation.
Okay, you were on vacation back in June of 1994, weren't you?
Just about to, yeah. I was studying at Georgetown on an executive program there for a month.
Okay, and in what city do you live?
I guess these days Irvine would be my address.
No, you don't. Okay. Now, you, when you saw the defendant, you paid special attention to him, didn't you?
Did you say when I saw the defendant? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't hear you. Yeah, I sure did.
Okay. And you don't usually look at everyone you meet as closely as you looked at the defendant, correct?
Depends on the circumstances.
Well, when you meet other people, we'll strike that. Well, when you see people in passing, do you look at them to see if they're sweating or not?
Sure.
So whenever you see someone, you look to see if they're sweating.
When I see someone, I look at them, and you might notice sweating, if that were the case.
Well, you testified this morning that you looked at Mr. Simpson specifically to see if he was sweating. Is that right?
And in this case, that's correct.
Okay. And you hadn't heard anything about Nicole Brown's murder at that point, right?
No.
You hadn't heard anything about Ron Goldman having been murdered at Bundy, right?
No.
Well, why did you look at Mr. Simpson to see if he was sweating?
Specifically because one of the few things I know about his celebrity is the fact that he did a commercial where he ran through an airport to catch his flight. And that is the reason why I specifically looked at Mr. Simpson, given that I expected I would be the last person to board that flight. I was using the telephone outside the gates and asked the attendant to let me know when the last possible moment for me to board was. So she waved over to me, and I got on. So I was startled when someone got on after me, especially someone that was a celebrity.
But to answer my question, Mr. Valerie, why did you look specifically at Mr. Simpson to see if he was sweating?
The specific reason was I imagined him having to probably run through the airport, like his commercials, and imagined he would be sweating. It was a summer evening, it was warm, and I was heated. Let's say it's a warm plane. The environment on airplanes warm. I actually looked at him to see, wow, he must have been running through the airport, is what I imagined. So I was looking at him, and I actually noticed he looked very sharp.
Did you consciously think to yourself, wow, I wonder if O.J. Simpson is sweating?
Can you repeat that question?
I mean, did you actually think to yourself, I wonder if O.J. Simpson is sweating?
No, the thought that came across my mind was that he looked very fresh. I was surprised about that.
You spoke to a defense investigator on June 17, 1994. Is that correct?
I think that was a Thursday.
Okay, but you spoke to a defense investigator in June of 1994.
Yes.
Right. And you were shown a copy of a typewritten statement, your statement to that defense investigator. Is that correct?
That is not correct.
Okay. You haven't seen a copy of your statement to defense investigator William Pavlik?
The defense investigator.
Yes.
Yeah, I guess I did see it yesterday.
Okay. And who showed that statement to you?
Johnny Cochran.
Okay. And where were you when Johnny Cochran showed you that statement?
In his office.
Okay. And that was yesterday evening?
That's correct.
Okay. And what time was that?
Approximately 8:45 p.m.
Okay. And how long had you been at Mr. Cochran's office yesterday evening?
I'd been there probably 40 minutes.
Okay. And how'd you get there?
I drove myself there.
Okay. And when Mr. Cochran showed you that statement, did you read it?
Actually, I didn't. I glanced at it, but I didn't bother to read it.
Let me hand you a single-page document and ask you if that is a copy of the statement Mr. Cochran showed you.
It appears to be a yes.
Did you indicate to the defense investigator? We'll strike that. Where in that statement to the defense investigator does it state that you looked at Mr. Simpson for the specific purpose of determining whether or not he was sweating?
Sustained. Phrase the question.
Well, when you spoke to the defense investigator, did you try to be honest?
This is a summary of what I said. It's not the actual transcript. We spoke for, my estimates were probably about 45 minutes. So if that's all that was written, then I would imagine it would have been much longer for that much time.
Okay, well, is it your testimony that you told Mr. Pavlik that you looked at Mr. Simpson specifically to see if he was sweating?
Yes, that is correct.
And is that contained in the statement here?
No, it is not.
When you looked at the statement yesterday with Mr. Cochran, you pointed that out to him, I take it.
No, I didn't. Like I said, I didn't read that statement. They just said these were what were taken from you. I glanced at them. I noticed the key points and moved on.
I'm sorry, with Johnny?
That is correct.
Okay, you Mr. Cochran on a first name basis?
And Carl was there.
Carl Douglas?
That's correct.
Okay, so you refer to Mr. Cochran as Johnny and Mr. Douglas as Carl?
That's how they asked me to refer to them. I said they can call me Steve.
And you spoke to Mr. Pavlik, a defense investigator, on June 23. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And did you speak to Mr. Pavlik, the defense investigator, in person?
No, it was via telephone.
And how long did you speak to Mr. Pavlik at that time?
Again, I'm not clear on the dates. You said the 23rd. What day was that? Was that the same conversation as that record has? Is it that conversation you're referring to?
Well, the first piece of paper I showed you shows the date of June 17. Is that
June 17th,
correct?
okay.
Okay. That was the first time you spoke to Mr. Pavlik?
That's correct.
Okay. And you spoke to him again on the telephone, is that correct?
I believe so, yes.
You spoke to him about 6 days after the first conversation, correct?
Okay.
Okay. About June 23, 1994?
I don't remember the specific date. Yes, I had a second conversation with him.
Okay. And you didn't tell Mr. Pavlik anything about looking at O.J. Simpson specifically to see if he was sweating or not, did you?
Frankly, I don't remember what the second specific conversation was about. If it was any different than the first time, I think all the way through this, I've stated the exact same facts. And so I think he asked me questions again in more detail, but I certainly don't remember a year later what the second conversation was verbatim.
And you actually spoke to the LAPD, a detective from the LAPD, on June 16, 1994, correct?
I think that's correct.
Okay, you
Again, I
spoke-
don't have a calendar in front of me, so.
Okay, well, you spoke to Detective Kilcoyne?
Yes, I called him, in fact.
And why did you call Detective Kilcoyne?
Because by that time it had come out that Mr. Simpson was implicated or had some possible connection to the case, and so I wanted to let it be known that he was on board this flight. I wasn't sure if that had been communicated to anybody, so I had called up, and they passed me on to this detective. I didn't know his name at the time.
Okay, and you wanted to make sure the LAPD had all the information you had
Correct.
relative to Mr. Simpson on the flight to Chicago from LAX, right?
That's correct.
Okay. And did did John and Johnny and Carl show you a copy of an LAPD statement yesterday?
Yes, one statement, because I made two,
Okay.
and they showed me one.
Okay. And the one statement that they showed you, was it a handwritten
That is correct.
copy of the statement? Yes?
Yes.
And this contains the information you gave the LAPD on June 16, right?
Correct.
Okay. And
A summary again.
Okay. And where, if at all, does it show that you told the LAPD that you looked at Mr. Simpson for the specific purpose of trying to find out or see whether or not he was sweating?
Sustain a phrase question.
No, we're not going to rephrase the question. We're not going to listen to a sweaty OJ today. We're done with sweaty OJ today. I think we've had more than enough. All right, guys. Thank you so much for coming out. I really, really, really appreciate it. I really do. I hope that you guys have a great day. It's Wednesday, so I will see you all tomorrow morning. All right, behave, guys. Thank you so much. Bye.